I'm trying to win the Champions League from Liechtenstein. Except Liechtenstein does not have their own football league, and so the clubs play in the Swiss leagues. And because of that, we only have one European slot in the early qualifying rounds of the Conference League. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Vaduz Challenge. We're in charge of FC Vaduz, a club from Liechtenstein who play in Switzerland. In the last episode, we established ourselves as the leading force of the Swiss league. This means we can now fully focus on Europe. We got to the Conference League quarterfinal for a second time in a row. This let us collect enough points to win the season's coefficient rankings. A slot in that ranking's top 2 gives us a place in the Champions League stage, and you would be taking one of those places. However, there is a bug which makes the system not work at all. So you guessed it, we're going to complete the Vaduz Challenge the old way, and this video will not end until we win the UEFA Conference League. By the way, there was an update called 26.3 in the meantime, and you guessed it, it did not fix the bug with the Champions League slots. Beautiful. We already can beat most of the teams from Europe, but it's still not enough to win a trophy. Let's increase our chances by venturing to the transfer market. With almost 2 million in the budget, we could do something. But first, we sold some players, namely Leo Ademi, who went to Le Havre for a total of 2 million, and Oskar Vestin, whose next club is Palermo. I also tried to let Valery Vladimirov go, but he found out and got angry at me, which only made him go to Alaves for 3.3 million. I also received some insane offers for Christel Hellman. The board even accepted a 12 million bid from Lech Poznań, but thanks to my protest, they reverted the decision. And in November, I got a 14 million offer from FC Zurich. Of course I said no, but that won't be the last time we hear about this transfer saga. We now have a very simple task in front of us. Because of it, we are now looking for players that can improve our squad from the second they join. The money we get from the sales made me turn my attention towards a certain central defender, Dragan Jokic from Čukarički Stankom. His release clause was set at 2.9 million, which I paid out. The problem is, Dragan already caught interest from Europe's biggest clubs. One of them was Barcelona, with whom he signed a new contract, and had no hesitation doing so. So I turned my attention towards Zoran Ilic from St. Gallen. For 3.7 million, he has one task: defend. Next were 2 free transfers. A left-back Tsotne Mumladze, who last played in Lyon, and a defensive midfielder Massami Melivilu. I also found a centre-back in Zimbabwe. Tanatswa and Kube from Highlanders joined us for just 140,000 before going for a loan to Standard Liège. Our priority, as you know it, is Europe. We have to win the UEFA Conference League as soon as possible. First step, qualify to the Conference League stage. We qualified there with ease after beating Fylkir, Nommekaliu, Viking and Legia Warszawa. Step 2, qualify for the knockouts. One half of the ladder was fairly easy. On the other there was Newcastle. And guess what? We somehow won 2-0 against them. Absolute cinema. Other than that, we also won 4 games and lost out to Baník Ostrava. In total, we collected 12 points, which was enough for an 11th place and a knockout playoff round against Ludogorets Razgrad. But what about our domestic league? Even though it gives us nothing in Europe, we've still got to win it, right? Well, we generally are doing well and are involved in the title fight. The problem is, we're the worst out of the 4 teams in the title fight, despite only losing 2 games by the middle point of the season. However, St. Gallen, Zurich and Luzern are all within reach, and we only lose 5 points to the leaders with 3 games in hand. One man I have to compliment in particular for this half a year is our striker Tomasz Machacek. He already had 2 massive seasons here in Vaduz, but this year he's on another level. Tomasz already scored 18 league goals and 12 more in the Conference League, more than in the entire previous season. By the way, I once thought that an unusual thing happened. I once thought that our goalkeeper, Szymon Tafat, scored against Thun. Turns out it was Thun's goalkeeper's own goal. So it's best we skip past another FN26 glitch and focus on the winter transfer window. I also owe you an update about Christel Hellman's transfer saga involving FC Zurich. Zurich kept being stubborn about signing Christel, and at one point in December they said, you know what, here's 19 million. The board saw it and accepted the offer straight away, and I decided not to protest. This is quite an insane offer. But there was one man who decided to reject it. His name? Christer Hellman. Yes, the Swedish centre-back decided he wants to stay in Liechtenstein. This meant the only transfer I could make was a free transfer. Jorge Castro just became a free agent, and we used that opportunity to sign him. Just one problem, we pay him by far the highest wage. Jorge forced Tsotne Mumladze on a loan out to Brann in Norway and Alessandro Feinbier on a loan out to Young Boys. Now, if we thought our journey to the third league title was sunshine and rainbows, think again. We were far from ideal coming to the tail end of the season, and potentially we may be losing the league title. What's even worse is that we suddenly had a press conference about us fielding an ineligible player in the Liechtensteiner Cup. I would be worried about us losing the trophy we've won every time so far, but I wasn't, because I looked at the date of that conference. Yes, it was an April Fool's joke. Thankfully, we sorted ourselves out just in time during the championship group, and it was enough to win the third consecutive league title. Tomasz Machacek also kept his lead in the top scoring charts, even though he suddenly slowed down in the second half of the campaign. Fun fact, there were also rumors of a potential tycoon takeover in Vaduz. Even though these were persistent rumors, they unfortunately did not materialize. But now, it's finally time for the elephant in the room. The Conference League knockouts, which we started with a tie against Ludogorets Razgrad from Bulgaria. Surprisingly, despite absolutely dominating the opponents, we still lost 1-0 in the first leg, so I decided to play out the second match. It was a great decision. We demolished the Bulgarians 5-1 and Tomasz Machacek scored the brace. Tomasz impressed Basel so much, they sent us an 8 million euro offer. Obviously I said no. So, Tomasz started in a round of 16 aggregate against SC Freiburg. At home, it was a 0-0 draw, even though we had a slight advantage, which we could not prove in the away match. Just 9 minutes in, we conceded. Thankfully, still in the first half, Guillermo Riso scored an equalizer after a deflection. We also had a big chance in the second half, but David Wilczek only hit the post. We were already preparing for the extra time, but in the 90th minute, a header from Tomasz Machacek reached Jurgensen, who was unfortunately stopped. So, we had extra time. In it, David Wilczek couldn't convert a chance again, unlike Gonzalo Gonzalez from Freiburg, who unfortunately got his opportunity and scored. We tried to go all in, but this made us vulnerable, and Michael Kell capitalized on it. This match ended with our 3-1 loss, and it means we'll have to go at the Conference League again next season. This is Szymon Tafat. He was our primary keeper for 7 years. Why am I talking about him in the past tense? That's because he left for Southampton for just 120,000. We needed an upgrade between the sticks. We need a player who is capable of dragging us to the European trophy. And the goalkeeper who may do just that is William Asamoah. We signed him from Copenhagen for 1.7 million, and he genuinely feels like that upgrade. But Szymon wasn't the only departure during this window. Massami Melivilu left us for Turkey after just 1 year. Benjamin Benoit became a free agent, and we also said goodbye to a long-served Christophe Lebail, who got a contract with Real Oviedo, and we got 1.4 million euros. The biggest transfers out of the club were Alessandro Boscaro, who left for Zurich for 2.9 million, and Patrick Drexa, whose next stop is Heidenheim in the second Bundesliga for 2.4 million. Oh, and also, Risso left for 3.8 million. But that wasn't my idea, it was the president's idea. And my idea was to bring in Jamaluddin Arem from Club Africain in Tunisia for just $500,000. Despite having 5 million euros more available in the budget, I decided not to spend them all. Instead, I got 2 players on loan. Celian Busman from Roma and Pablo Corbacho from Young Boys Bern. The former will replace Tilen Novak, whose new task is to build generational wealth in Saudi Arabia. Unless Celian gets one of the worst injuries a player can get in the middle of October. Regardless, I feel the squad is a tiny bit stronger compared to the one from previous season. So let's prove it on the pitch. Naturally, we qualified to the league stage of the Conference League after we dealt with Botev Plovdiv in the final qualifying round. In the league stage itself, the list of opponents made us believe it's finally time to finish in the top 8 and go straight to the round of 16. With 3 wins and 3 draws, we did just that, and finished the league stage on 8th. We are going straight to the round of 16 ahead of Young Boys Bern based on away goals scored. This is quite a milestone for us, because it shows we can finally be among the favorites to win the whole competition. So, we were active in the winter transfer window. Jan Bacik left us for Luzern, and Slobodan Pechar will now play for Zurich. They left for a combined 3 million, which is about a tenth of what we received for Tanatsua and Kubey. He went to Premier League Ipswich for 30 million including bonuses, and we made 214 times of a profit. We are also forced to let go Majid Merouani. He wanted a wage way out of our reach, and Villarreal paid out his 18.75 million release clause. But who joined us after we made a total of 50 million this window? First was a forward Juan Manuel Lopez Duran, who joined us from Atletico for just 375,000. Next was Luka Mudresha. I was looking forward to signing him for a good few seasons now from Young Boys, and we finally did. Another transfer was a centre-back Majun Hyuk from South Korea for just 900,000. I also brought in Samuel Kouassi from ASEC Mimosas for just 300,000, and the final signing is Lorenz Romslo at right back for 2.5 million. The size of this rebuild may have overwhelmed our squad. At this stage of the Vaduz challenge, I was planning to just quickly go through the Swiss league, and all I wanted to say is, we have quite easily dominated the league, and wanted to like, I don't know, 12 points ahead of insert a random Swiss team. The problem is, the league has now split into the championship and relegation group, and we're not in the lead. We gave away too many points to our opponents, and now Young Boys are 2 points ahead of us. And the worst that could happen, happened. With 1 game to go, we're still 2 points behind Young Boys Bar, and only a miracle will help us save the season and claim the 4th league title. In the final match day, we did our part. Lorenz Romso's solo run ended in the back of Zurich's net. Just a few minutes later, David Wilczek doubled our lead. But Young Boys were also winning their match against Loser. Until... Pause. Do you see this? Do you see this? Luzern are drawing against Young Boys. I mean, we just have to score as many goals as possible now. Kvalvik Henriksen deserves a free kick. Oh, he hit the crossbar. I wasn't planning for this. I was thinking we'd just cruise the league every season now. And I was stressed about winning the league title, please. We did it! We actually did it! We actually did it! We somehow won the Swiss league title after being 2 points down against Young Boys until this very match. And they bottled it. We won the Swiss League for the 4th time in a row, but that was one of the most dramatic seasons you've seen. Even though I've only talked about it since like the match day 33, it doesn't really matter, we've won. We've won, what a season, absolute cinema. Thankfully we sorted out the league, although this was way too stressful. But now, it's time to find out. Was the top 8 finish in the Conference League stage the start of something bigger? In the round of 16, we were drawn against Dinamo Zagreb. In the away leg in Croatia, we drew 1-1, so it was time to lock in at home. And at home, we could not lock in until the 94th minute. That's when William Asamoah launched the counter. Matthew Delpy started a solo run and was near the penalty box, only for the ref to call the extra time. Are you serious? In that extra time, Korbaczek had a 1v1, only to be stopped by the keeper, just like Matthew Delpy, who wasted 2 chances. This meant a penalty shootout. In it, unfortunately, David Gruezo was stopped by Dinamo's keeper, but Jesus from Dinamo missed entirely. In the deciding kick, Jürgensen scored, but what about Dinamo's Havik Horst? He scored as well. We went to sudden death, in which Christian Hellman scored, and William Asamoah stopped Rodriguez's penalty, which meant we're going to a quarter-final. By the way, we once won the Champions League with Dinamo Zagreb. You may want to check it out after watching this video. The Football Manager game looked at this recommendation and thought, ironic, you're now going to play Hajduk Split in the quarterfinal. And now he will try to get past Petit, which he does, and Owusu opens up the scoring. Free kick, and now he's going to assist Poduliak. Owusu Asare with the second goal, and now Aurelian is trying to cut inside. He does so, makes a pass to Arel, to Mudresha. That's 1-2. Hajduk started quickly, and they might have started a little bit too quickly. Mahacek has been blocked. A lot of 1-2s between these two, and Mahacek wins the header, and that's an equalizer. Agafonov, it's not looking good. Hildebrand has a chance on a 1v1. I hope he was offside, but it doesn't look like for the referee. We're going to split with a 3-2 loss. It's not over yet, but man, it's not a good situation. Hrgovic delivers a cross from the byline, and Hildebrand wins. Oh no. Rakovic and his cross to Hildebrand finds the net. We may be also making a rebuild. Like a proper rebuild. Or maybe we don't really need that. We need those players to get better cohesion. Busman! That's great news! That's great news! He at least scored. Graham, brilliant pass to Delpy. Delpy, fantastic volley! Disallowed. Finds Aurelian Petit. And now he delivers the first touch cross. Tomasz, where have you lost your form? And now lost possession to Mendes, and there is nobody to mark anyone here. And then they will send a long ball to Hildebrand, who is on a 1v1 against the keeper, and ends our dreams of winning this Conference League this season. Even though it's disallowed, really. We wasted what could be our biggest chance to win the Conference League so far. We know we have the potential to go for a European trophy, but we won't do that by consistently wasting our chances in the quarterfinals. At least Tomasz Mahacek absolutely demolished the top scoring charts in Europe with 20 goals in total. Although, you have to keep in mind that the qualifiers also count to this tally. But there's one more thing we have to mention. We may try to win the European trophy with the new owner in charge. A certain Dominik Neff put on a bid worth 18.5 million euros to buy the club with a plan of putting it on the stock exchange. The deal was serious enough that the current president, Len Heemskerk, put the club under the transfer embargo. However, after the season has rounded up, Dominik Neff backed out of the investment after not getting an agreement over the price. For the next campaign, we're staying with Len. We were way too close from losing the title last season, and we cannot afford to let this happen again. So this season, we need to invest, and 6 million euros for that is quite a decent budget. I am aiming to sign at least 2 strikers and or a winger and a midfielder. That's because for the first time, I think in like a decade, we're changing our system. We are moving to a 4-4. That's right, we'll now be using a 2-striker formation with the aim of having more players high up the pitch. This will allow some game time for the likes of Samuel Kouassi. We could not find him alone last winter, and now he will get it all paid back with many chances to play in the starting 11. First, let's cover the departures. Otkar Kvalvik Henriksen was getting nowhere near the opportunities to play he wanted, so he asked me to let him go. His next stop is Atromitos in Greece for just 250,000. Aurelien Petit left us permanently. From now on, he's a fullback for Racing Santander for $1 million, just like Tsotny Mumladze, who's now in Olympiacos after being transfer listed for 35,000. Jorge Castro's 10 million release clause was activated and he joined Eintracht Frankfurt. And David Gruezo became a new player for Brescia for a total of 3 million. And now, the signings. Before this window, I said I am aiming to sign at least 2 strikers and or a winger and a midfielder. So obviously, my first signing was a right back. Radenko Kukavica, who helped Hajduk split defeat us last season in the Conference League, now joined us for a modest fee of 10 million euros. Honestly, looking at his potential, he could be even better than Meruani. And obviously, the second transfer was a left back, Dino Božić from FC Basel for 3.7 million. In the midfield, I brought in Frederic Lut from Aarhus for 1.9 million. I also loaned in Christian Cortes from Luzern. But let's be real, I've just found Erik Bednarek from Korona Kielce. For now, he doesn't want to join, because it wouldn't help his development. The squad feels much stronger compared to last year. Let's prove it in Europe. We qualified to the league stage as usual after beating Strømsgodset, Sigma Olomouc and Ludogorets. Apart from Coventry, this looks like to be a fairly easy league stage. But hold on, I have to tell you something first. The rumors of a potential takeover did not stop. This time around, it was a tycoon. A consortium led by a Portuguese man Rodrigo Alves wanted to purchase the club for maybe even 58 million and invest in it. We were put under a transfer embargo again. Thankfully, it was after the summer transfer window. By the end of October, the inevitable happened. Rodrigo Alves and his consortium bought the club and intend on investing in our training facilities and putting in 3.8 million to the club. And he fulfilled those promises just a few days later. But did we deliver on the pitch? We did. 5 wins and a draw led us straight to the round of 16 in 3rd place. Now guess who we suffered that draw against? No, not Coventry. Shkendia from Macedonia. This all was a sign of great form, and we had a plan to make it even better. But you may be wondering, what about Erik Bednarek, who I extremely wanted to sign from Korona Kielce? Well, even though he turned 18, which is an indicator of an in-game mechanic to prevent FM players from signing 1,000 wonderkids every window, and his contract was running out, he still didn't think this move was right for his development. Even though he would be at least our 3rd striker right behind Tomasz and Samuel, which would lead to plenty of minutes. And so, he chose Bologna. At least he greatly deliberated it. Instead, I had to look for players in the Swiss youth national teams. Plenty of them had some potential, and one of them was Isuf Balde from FC Zurich. I ended up signing him for 2.4 million. Isuf joins the squad that has a very simple goal: go on to finally win that Conference League. We're starting our knockout stage in the round of 16. There, we meet Hammarby from Sweden. We played the first match away from home, and we saw 6 goals in it. But if you were late and only turned up for the second half, you better have stayed at home. All goals in this 3-all draw were scored in the first half. In the second match, Tomasz Bachacek scored a header to give us the lead on aggregate, even though he was millimeters away from being offside. This is definitely something Tomasz needs to teach Michal Kolasik about, because Michal missed this. Thankfully, Juan Lopez doubled the lead, ending Hammarby's hopes to go to the quarterfinal. Also, what hopes did Hammarby have? They didn't even take a single shot. In the quarters, our opponents were Stade Rennes. Way back in Season 5, we managed to draw against them in the league stage, back when we were just minnows trying to survive Switzerland's top division. But now, we've grown to be much stronger, and this raises the obvious question: is it enough to finally go to the semi-final? Kouassi launches Wilczek on the left side, and now the Czechman delivers a roll cross to Mahacek. That's 1-0. In 24 minutes, we've taken the lead. This is absolutely huge. Mahacek on the right side passes it back to Jurgensen. Long ball to Kouassi. I think, though, Samuel was offside. He's going to have his goal called off. The burn with Lopez Duran. That's a 1-2 between these two. Mahacek go into the penalty box. We need you to be there. You're told you have to win this header. Or Kolasik, who scores the second goal. Fantastic performance overall in this first leg, and we hope to confirm our Conference League semi-final entry in the second match in France. Mahacek finds Lopez. Lopez has a chance to open up the scoring, and he does. That's 3-0 on aggregate, as D-Burn has a throw-in on the left side and will pass to Mudresha, Mudresha back to Dibern, delivers a cross and Delpy wins the header, hits the crossbar, but Lopez scores a brace. Looks like it will be Stadoren's job to prevent the players from getting a clean sheet. Lockwood has a chance. This time after a deflection from the goalkeeper he scores. Wilczek passes it to the left, out wide to Bozic. Bozic to Wilczek! From a tight angle, that's 3-1 for us. Finally, we got the breakthrough we needed in this challenge. It took 15 seasons to enter the Conference League semi-final. But I don't want this to be the end of the road. We're playing Eintracht Frankfurt, and we're ready to make another step towards European glory. Mudresha to Lopez. Lopez to Dibern. He's again on the left side. He will try making a cross to Machacek, who opens up the scoring. Dibern. They pass to Mudresha in front of the area. Brilliant combination. Kouassi to Delpy. That's 2-0 for us. Silla is on a 1v1 against Asamoah. And unfortunately, Eintracht are fighting back. At least it's a 2-1 lead going to Liechtenstein. Wilczek will deliver a cross. He does so. Machacek! And that's 1-0 for us. Much needed safety net. Kouassi, what are you doing? No, but seriously. That's a red! I mean, he was late with the tackle, but for what? Vinicius to Jose Mario, whose slow shot finds the net, and it's getting worrying. Bozic to Lopez, Lopez to Machacek. Machacek has the ball and has to wait for someone to show up, and that someone is Arem. Gets the ball to Lopez Durant, who's on 1v1 against the keeper, and that's 2-1. The Eintracht players are celebrating, which means it's off indeed. Despite being down to 10 men, we did it! We're in the Conference League final, where we'll be playing Coventry City. When it comes to the Swiss League, there was no problem in dominating it. We won it as usual, but this time it was much more comfortable. Throughout this campaign, we also put the work in to improve our training and youth facilities, and it was a great investment. In the youth intake, we've got Christian Piccirillo. He already has brilliant goalkeeping attributes and also a lot of potential. But that's not the end, because our striker Samuel Kouassi won the Next Gen award, and what's more, Eloni and soon to be a permanent player Christian Cortes finished third. But the Next Gen award is not the trophy we're aiming for. The trophy we've been chasing for 15 seasons is the Conference League, and finally, it's time to get it. In the Hansa Rostock Stadium in the eastern part of Germany, we're going up against Coventry City, who won the semi-final against Rapid Vienna. We already won against them earlier in the league stage, so we know beating them is possible. So, let's do it again. This is Liechtenstein's and Switzerland's as well first ever Conference League final. And let's make sure this is also the only final we ever play in. We'll find out, however, in 90 minutes as Tomasz Machacek wins the header, and that's 1-0 just 3 minutes in. Arem to Mudresha. Krechenbel has a chance and he scores. That's 2-0. Kolajic loses possession. Oh no. Robinson sends it to Lopez, who is not wasting opportunities like this. We're going to potentially win by the tightest of margins. Hopefully it stays like this at the very minimum. Hellman, however, could be winning a penalty here. Tomasz Machacek scores the third goal. It's his brace in the Conference League final. Krechenbel, fantastic slide tackle. Despite him being on a yellow, he still found a way to win the ball. Machacek though loses it. And Rozic, does not chase Abuskis. 3-2. Krechenbel to Lopez. Kolajic, 4-2. Machacek wins the header. That's Lopez Duran on a 1v1, top corner, 5-2. It's a demolition. We'll lift the Conference League trophy. But remember, this is only the first part of the journey. But for now, let's celebrate, because this is Switzerland and Liechtenstein's first ever European trophy. This took way too long. After 15 long years, we finally lifted the Conference League. We completed the second milestone of the Vaduz challenge. Next year, our goal is to complete the third milestone. The goal is to win the Europa League at the first time of asking, because that's the only way for us to get a ticket to the Champions League.